we don't connect, but okay, great. Okay, so this isn't super formal or anything. I think when it does record, it does post. So I don't know if people actually see it, but um, this is Caitlin Jacobsen from LA Running Mama, and I really just wanted to talk with you because I'm so inspired by you and motivated by what you do, and I just wanted to learn more about, your running, your racing, your blog. I was doing a little research on, you're also a plant-based diet, is that right?
Yes.
And, just how you do it all with three kids. I just think it's amazing. You run, what, 40 miles a week or more with a triple jogging stroller, which I've never even seen one of those in person. So I guess first of all, I'd love to learn like what is your journey with running? I know you started in high school,
hmm
and you ran competitively. Like how did you get started? And did you run super competitively in high school and college, or just tell me like how you got started and where that led you.
Okay. Yeah, so I started back in, I think, eighth grade when my sister, who's 1 year ahead of me, she was running with her high school cross country team. And I kind of was just a nerdy, quiet um, high schooler or young adolescent. And I really felt like I found myself just running on the streets with these high school girls. And it was just so fun to me to be doing this, just running around in the streets all summer long with these freshmen in high school, well, freshman to senior in high school runners. And that's how I first got into it. But then I went to a different high school, a smaller high school than my sister. And so we didn't have a cross country team. And so I ran by myself all through high school. I was the only member of the cross country team. But I
Oh.
really, so that's kind of how I started. And I, I really did feel like from the beginning, I knew that was my biggest passion and I just loved it. I loved to be running out there, whether it was with other girls or alone. And so I raced all through high school, and then in college, I was recruited to run at Claremont McKenna College, which is a small Division III school. But they still are a kind of a distance running powerhouse in Division III.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I went to run there, and it was my first time ever with teammates and a team, and it really was my second family, and I loved it. And now I look back at those days and how I wish I appreciated them more of being driven up to mountains and new trails every day by our coach and
Oh,
just
wow.
running around with friends for hours. And now, I look back and wish that I could do it all again.
Yeah.
So,
I know, I think we all do.
yeah, you can't really appreciate it, I think, until you're out of it, and especially now with kids, just how much more difficult it is to balance everything.
Oh
Um,
yeah. No, I
yeah,
can't imagine. I mean, I try to get on the trails with my double jogging stroller, but I mean, it's probably pretty challenging with a triple jogging stroller to get on the
yeah.
trail, right?
We can, the neighborhood we live in now is about a mile from Dirt Mulholland, which it probably has access to about 90 miles of trails, which is just incredible. And much of it is fire road. So we're really lucky that we can take our triple jogger up there. And if
Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah,
that's great. That's
yeah,
perfect.
I mean, we can't go back on we can't go off single tracks and that, but we can stay on the fire road. And I mean, you could easily go 30 miles with the triple jogger. Not,
Wow, that's great. You'll have to send me some pictures so I can put those in the post. That'd be
okay.
amazing to have some pictures of
Yeah.
the trails that you can run with the stroller.
Okay, yeah, I will. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I ran in college, and then I would say after almost the whole time I was injured. I think looking back, a big part of it is probably that I came from Chicago where it was very flat, and then I came out here and we were running on trails every day and in the mountains. And it was just a really difficult time in my life because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do what I love to do. And I had multiple stress fractures and overuse injuries and just spent a lot of time in the training rooms. And so it was really hard. But then eventually, my junior year, I just, talked to the coach and said, I can't do it anymore. I need to. It was too difficult to watch the teammates be competing and feel like I was just an outsider and, kind of missing it and wanting to be there and pushing my body, but just being injured repeatedly. So then I joined the cycling team, which is then how my husband and I met. So I feel like
Oh,
sometimes it was fate maybe that
yeah.
there was something good that came out of all the injuries and not being able to run. So we rode I rode on our collegiate team, which is a club sport collegiately, and competed in that because I needed think I've always needed some kind of outlet to be competitive and to get out some energy. So yeah, I did cycling for a while. I was never great. I was pretty good because I had a good fitness level, but I don't think I could ever be a great cyclist because it's just I don't know. I love running in the trails and being out there, but cycling it's a whole different game and crashing and you know it's it's different. So
Yeah. And
um,
now, so now you have three kids.
yeah,
Tell me about your kids a little bit, like ages and,
okay.
maybe the transition from running in college to, having the kids and, what was the transition like? Were you able to train through pregnancy and post-delivery? Like, what was that whole experience like?
Okay. So my kids now are 5.5, 4, and 2. So they're each about they're 19 months apart and 22 months apart.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And with my first, I was riding a lot. Actually, I was commuting about 20 miles a day on my mountain bike to work to UCLA where I was doing research. And then I found out I was pregnant with my first. And it's funny because when I got pregnant, I was trying out some new kind of energy fuel drink that is not Herbalife now sells, but one of my friends was starting up the company, and so he had me trying this. And I kept telling him, I said, ever since I've tried this, it's giving me really bad cramps, and I'm feeling bloated. And I said, I think I'm even gaining weight from this. And then it turned out I was pregnant, and so
Oh, that's funny.
so I had to take my statements back. But so yeah, I was riding a lot, and I didn't run through that first pregnancy. I kind of just stopped. I rode, rode some, but I felt like it was too risky if I crashed or anything. So I was mostly just walking a lot. And then after my first was born, I started running a little, and then so yeah, I kind of got back in the swing of running with her, but she was a really difficult colicky baby, and she hated the stroller. And so it was hard. I would go on some runs with my friend who was a new mom too, her baby the same age, and my daughter who's now almost 6. She would just scream the entire time. And so I get it when parents ask questions about running with strollers and how do you cope with babies and all of that. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like I've kind of been through it all. And there were many runs that I would just end in tears. I would go out thinking I need to go for a run, and then both of us would just be crying hysterically the whole run 'cause she was screaming. And um, but I don't know, somehow we got through it, and now it seems like a lifetime ago. So yeah, I was getting back in shape when I found out I was pregnant with my second, and I did run through much of that pregnancy. Probably I would say until 7 or 8 months when it just didn't feel good. And I never raced through pregnancies. I mean, I did do one half marathon, but I basically jogged it. I felt like I I could run as long as I wasn't pushing it too hard and getting my heart rate up too fast, and all that. Um,
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Most people, half marathon is a stretch, so that's great. You did that when you're pregnant. It's
yeah,
amazing.
thanks. And then when I got pregnant with my third, it was a shock. It was a big surprise. And we thought we were done. And I had just gotten back from a weekend in San Diego watching my sister run her first marathon. And I had never run a marathon, but I had always wanted to. So this was my older sister again, who kind of always inspired me with her running. So I remember I came back and I told my husband that, it was just the best weekend away with my two daughters. And I finally was happy with the fact we were just going to have two kids, and life seemed so simple and kind of seamless. And I wanted to train for a marathon. And then the next day I went out for a run, and I came home and just felt I just could feel a little different. And so I took a pregnancy test thinking, oh, it's going to be negative. There's not a chance. I know I was pregnant. So
Wow.
it was, yeah, it was shocking, and I think really difficult for me to deal with for at least the first month because I had really worked hard to get back in shape, and I felt like I was in the best shape of my life, and I wanted to train for a marathon, and I just I just couldn't imagine, starting from scratch or starting over again. Um, and then I was terrified of how I would run with them because I thought, every afternoon we were running with our double stroller. And at this point, I was running probably 40 to 50 miles a week with my daughters. And it's the only way the only way they would nap in the afternoon. So it was just our quiet time. They would nap, and I would just run for hours. And basically, if I stopped running, they would wake up. So I kind of that was my
Oh.
motivation. And they're still the same. My son is the same. He'll wake up if I stop. So yeah, that's when I started researching triple joggers, and then I found this blogger, Dorothy Beale, who writes mileposts.
Okay.
You know of hers. She writes for mileposts.com, and I don't even know how. I think I just found it through some Google triple jogger search, and I couldn't believe it. So then I kind of got obsessed with wanting a triple jogger, and for months I researched online about triple joggers, and but I still just kind of had this thought in my head that that's crazy. There's no way you could push it. You know, it's going to be too heavy. And but then I saw that this lady did it, so I thought, well, maybe it's possible. But then at the time, we didn't have, we didn't have space in our garage for it, and it was, yeah, it was a big investment, kind of, that we didn't know if it would be worth it. So I didn't get it until then I think when Isaac, my youngest, who's now 2, he was born, and he was probably about 6 months old, and I really was just having a hard time getting out to run and just getting frustrated with my husband because he was working like crazy and traveling for work. And finally, one weekend, he was away well, he was in Europe for a whole week. And I just felt like I was every day calling friends and trying to pawn them off on friends to say, oh, can you watch my kids so I can go for an hour run? And I've always just hated the idea of, having to pay someone so I can go for a run, pay a babysitter or
Yeah.
something.
Yep.
And I want to go with them. It's more
Yeah.
fun to
Yep.
do it together. So yeah, while he was gone, I found one on Craigslist that popped up about 50 miles from here. So I put the kids in the car and we drove out. We called them and they said, yeah, it's available. Come see it. So we kind of just spontaneously or impulsively drove out there and picked it up and met the guy. And he had 3 kids who had just outgrown it, and his wife, was starting to run more alone. So he gave it to us, and I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this thing is not even going to fit in our trunk. It's so big, and the trunk
Oh
of our
wow.
minivan. So yeah, I think I had handed over the cash to him, and then I thought, okay, now what am I going to do? But he helped me get in the trunk. It just barely fit. We shut it, and then we came home and went right for a run. And I remember pushing it up our hill to get up to Santa Monica Mountains, we have to go up a really steep hill, probably like 15% grade.
Wow.
Um, and I remember pushing it up and just almost in tears thinking, like, this was so stupid. Why did I do this? I didn't even tell my husband I bought this, and now it was big. I just paid all this money for the stroller, and I can't do this. It's so hard. And um, yeah, and then I think every run after that just kind of got a little bit easier. And we just kept pushing up the hill, and still it takes me like 15 minutes to do the first mile pushing the triple stroller because it's mostly uphill. But I think it's just has kind of transformed our family, and being able to run with all the kids and us being able to go on family runs together. It's just been amazing, and kind of then inspired me to start writing my blog, LA Running Mama, and just get more into running and running with kids, and really kind of trying, and not even trying to inspire people, just inspiring myself and knowing that I can do this and that you can work out with kids, and you know
Yeah.
we can do it as a family.
Yeah. No, I think it's amazing. And I agree. I mean, just the double jogging stroller, I felt that same feeling, it's so difficult to push that thing up the hills, and then every day you just get more and more used to it, and then on the runs you go without it, you feel naked.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's such a great full body workout. I feel like in my longer runs, my arms are the first thing to tire, and
Yeah,
I don't know if you feel the same way. It's totally different than any
yeah,
type of running, trail running or road running or racing.
yeah, yeah. And I think from the beginning, I felt like I wanted to be, yeah, to be able to do it with the kids, and not to be constantly looking for someone to watch my kids so that I could go
Yeah.
get a little exercise. And now I think or even from the beginning, I think it gets us through our day. It's kind of, it's part of our activity, and that now our days are so full, and with 3 kids are busy anyway, but especially in the beginning when they were young and there's not that much you can do, and the days can get very tedious and monotonous. I think
Oh
going out
yeah.
for a run just, saved me as a mother and the kids too.
Yeah, exactly. So I read that you are currently a competitive runner, and I looked at your race schedule and your results, and you're like winning races and first place in your age group. So I'd love to hear more about that. Like, how often are you racing? What's your PR? In a 10K, and I saw some great half marathon times. Like, how do you fit in the training, the race training? Is it all with the stroller? And is that I guess is that part of like are you making money off racing? Do you have sponsors? Like, how is that working for you?
Okay. Yeah, so I've always loved to compete. And once I got back into running and running with the kids more, and then finally being done having kids, I felt like I could focus on racing and really training hard and trying to be competitive, at least in the local races, again. So I did, my first race back was 2 years ago, I believe in the fall. I did this local trail series, which was very much cross country style, 5 weeks in a row, Wednesday nights. And I just fell in love with it again and just thought it was the greatest thing. And they were just local 5Ks in the trails. And they were small, 30 to 50 people would come out. But I won it for the women. And then I think that's when I realized, like, oh, maybe I really could run fast again and could try to win races. So I kind of got hooked. And I race probably once a month now, I would say.
Okay.
Um, though in March, I think I race 3 times a month. So somewhere around that.
Yeah.
Um, but let's see, I don't have, um, what else did you ask?
Well, like
Oh,
when
on
you
training.
train, yeah, do you
Okay.
train with kids primarily or?
So until I would say this new year, starting in January, I ran I mean, all my miles were almost with the kids. On the weekends were the only time I would get out, probably Saturday, for a long run alone. But 5 days a week it was with the kids because my husband worked really long hours, and the only option, there really was no other option. I always am curious too how moms fit it in. And so I read about moms running on treadmills, and I mean, that's just ridiculous in LA to run
Yeah.
on a treadmill. You don't need that,
Totally.
which we're lucky about. And then my kids always wake up early, or someone was breastfeeding or nursing, and I felt like I wasn't going to wake up at 4 a.m. to go run alone. So yeah, all my training was with the kids until the new year, and then that's when my husband quit his job, to start our new company. So that's kind of when things have shifted a little, and that the fact that he's home a lot more, and so I can, if the littlest one is asleep, I can go out, sneak out for a run alone, which has been really nice. And though now the days when I do run with a stroller, it's so much harder, and
Yeah.
I almost feel like I can see how why people don't want to run with a stroller because it is just so much more challenging. Um, but I do. So now I'm training for a marathon in Ojai in May, called the Mountains to Beach Marathon, that I signed up for, and it will be my second marathon, behind Chicago, that I did in the fall. And so for this one of my friends, who raced at UCLA and was an experienced runner, her husband kind of coaches people just for fun, just as his hobby. And so he offered to give me just free coaching, and he's really into it. And so he's been giving me workouts. Um, and for the most part, I have tried to limit my stroller running, definitely my triple stroller running, to the easy days,
Okay.
which then doesn't really make the easy days as easy, I suppose. But I think the long runs I do alone, and I kind of always have anything over 12 miles. I do alone. I can't get my kids. I mean, I think that's too long for them to sit.
Yeah,
Maybe some
definitely.
girls can, but yeah, over 12 miles is about it. And then, well, maybe I've gone with a baby like 15 miles when he was asleep or something, but mostly anything over 12 I do alone. And then I would say Mondays I do speed workouts, after I drop all three off at school. This is starting in January has been the first time I've had three in school, for 6 hours a week. I'm apart from them, so you know
Nice.
it ends up being like 5 hours a week by the time I drop them off and pick them up.
Yeah.
But I use every second of that 5 hours running. So Mondays when they're at school, I'll do my speed workout, and then Tuesdays run easy with them with the stroller. And then Wednesdays, but I drop them off at school. And usually those days, even I have to run them to school, drop them off, and then go run right to the trail, and then run straight back to school. Because my long run, with marathon training, if my long run's 3 hours, I really need every second
Yeah.
to fit it in. But that's kind of how I make it work. And then, of course, I pick them up, and like today, I had 16 miles for my long run, and I didn't get to shower until 7:30 or 7:15 or something. And so I feel like it's
Yeah.
all. I feel like somewhere everyone has to, especially as a mom, you have to sacrifice something, and usually it's like prioritizing things. Like we'll run out of toilet paper. I'm really bad at running errands. I know I've written a few blog posts about that, and even today I called up my friend and I said, "Can we use borrow some toilet paper? We're almost out." And then I think to myself, she must think I'm crazy because I had 3 hours today, but I spent it all running. But
Yeah.
to me, that's what I need for my mental health and to be the best mother. So
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I mean, I think moms and you especially, you have it figured out. You've come up with creative ways to fit it in, whether it's running your kids to school or, going on runs with them to accomplish your errands.
yeah,
So I think that's great. I think it might give some other people some ideas because I think a lot of moms get stuck in that mentality that they can't fit it in, and I
hmm
think it's an excuse, but it's also a fallback,
yeah,
to not run or not exercise is we don't have time, but there is these little slivers of time we can fit in. We just have to
yeah.
be creative, and it's a matter of choices. And like you said, just deciding what your priorities are. So I think that's a really great point and a really great takeaway for other moms out there. I'd like to go back to one thing you're talking about. I read that, and I think you had posted something on the Facebook page that your longest stroller run was 12 miles. Is that still correct? Your triple stroller run is 12 miles?
Yes, with the triple for sure. I think with the single I've done maybe up to 15,
Okay.
um, something like that.
Yeah. No,
With my
that's amazing. Do you feel that, we talked about how challenging it is to run with a stroller, whether it be a single or a triple. Do you think that it's an advantage? I mean, I kind of feel like it is, but I'm not a competitive racer like you. I mean, how do you feel? Does it help with your racing and does it make it faster?
I do, yeah. I think definitely. I think it's such a good training tool. I mean, I couldn't have gotten in such good shape, I think, without just running without the triple stroller. Especially when I was training for Chicago. So that was last October, and I trained basically all summer and early fall with the triple stroller, besides my long runs. Long runs I could get out. Basically, I could buy myself time on a Saturday or Sunday morning to get out alone, but otherwise it was all with the stroller. And I wasn't doing, I even did my speed work with the stroller. And so of course I think, my times were slower and I would do mile repeats with it and or like 400 repeats and I felt like you kind of feel like you're in a roller derby or something, like pushing and
Yeah,
sprinting all
yeah,
out.
I've done that. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is fun, and I think the kids love it, and they have learned to cheer me on, and they'll go, "Mama, go."
Yeah, yeah, that's so great when they're cheering you on.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a training tool. Is a great, is great for training. But racing, I raced a 10K with it in November, last minute when my husband had to go into work, and my option was either don't do the race, which I almost just didn't do, or do it with the triple, and I did. And I mean that race I can say was a 10K, and it was harder than running the marathon. Just running 6 miles with the triple stroller and trying to run really fast. And I think I
Wow.
was able to average about 8:30 miles, and
Wow. That's amazing.
it was hard. It was really hard.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So, do you have any tips? Like, I actually haven't run a race with a stroller yet. So, like, any tips for other moms out there that are interested in doing like a race with a stroller, like to get around people? Do you usually start in the front of the pack, the back of the pack?
Yeah, so they always say, of course, that you have to start at the back of the pack.
Okay.
I I think if you're gonna jog it and you're fine and you're not gonna care about passing people, that's fine. Um, I've done one. I've done a few races with a single stroller, and I definitely always start right in the front because I know that otherwise I'm just going to be passing people, and I know that not that many people are going to pass me anyway. So I kind of I feel confident enough that if you're a mom and you're going to be running hard with a stroller, just start at the front. and
Okay, that's good.
and to I think maybe if someone says something, you can deal with it then. Luckily, no one has ever given me a hard time. Even with my triple, I started. I would say I started in like the second row. I did let, the really fast people go ahead of me because I knew I wasn't going to be running that fast, but I also knew, I think with a double or triple, it's basically impossible to pass people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I knew that anyone could get around me really easily. And I kind of felt like if someone wanted to be out of my way, they would stay out of my way. But if I started at the back, there's no way, I would pass anyone the whole race. Um, and I think running with the triple was a really cool experience because I realized I got way more kind of attention and cheers um, than I would have running alone or than anyone else in the whole race. And I think it was just it was cool to think maybe inspiring for other people to see, someone running with a triple stroller or just entertaining. But for whatever reason, everyone was cheering for us the whole race, and it was great.
Great. Okay, I can't see. Can you still see me?
Yes,
Okay, something happened on my computer, but as long as you can still see me, I guess
I
I
can
think we're
see,
good.
and it still says live.
It still says live. Okay.
Is
Okay,
your
good. Something weird happened. I can't see anymore, but that's all right. We'll keep going. Yes,
your
it's so
video,
weird.
your
As
camera
long as
still?
Yeah, I don't know. As long as it says live, then we're good.
Welcome.
Okay, so I'll just look at the green light. Okay, so no, that's great. Okay, so I'm gonna shift gears just a little bit because I'd love to learn more about the plant-based diet because I
Mhm.
think that that's really interesting. I would love to go that route myself. I'm not a vegetarian per se, but I would love to learn more about how to do it. Like, how did you have you always been, on a plant-based diet? When did you transition? Do you have any tips for other people out there, parents in general, um, to, or and athletes as well, to be able
Mhm.
to sustain training on a plant-based diet? I know it's a lot of stuff at once, but
Okay. Yeah, so no, I have not always been subscribed to any specific diet. I've never really liked meat very much, and so I never ate much. I wouldn't ever say I was a vegetarian or anything strict like that. Growing up, we kind of ate the very typical Midwestern diet. Not that healthy, but always home cooked meals.
yeah.
Then once probably in just the past 2 or 3 years, once I've had my kids and a few of my really good friends are strict vegans, still are, have been for years. And the more and more they talk to me about it and, recommended books and movies, and I think a great one, is Forks Over Knives. That was the last one my husband and I watched, and that kind of convinced us of the health benefits of going on a plant-based diet. And so it wasn't all sudden, like we said, you know, it wasn't like a New Year's resolution that all of a sudden we weren't going to eat any meat or go no dairy, all of that. It was more just gradual that we knew the harmful effects that eating a heavy meat diet could have, or lots of dairy in your diet, and just the links with cancer and lots of different just health problems. And so I kind of, we just kind of decided we would start eating more plant-based, and I got a few good cookbooks. One is called Peas and Thank You that I really liked. That was one of my first ones, and it has
Oh,
tons of
okay.
um, kids recipes. It wasn't like a New
Which
Year's resolution that all of a sudden we weren't gonna eat any meat or go no dairy. Oh, now I can hear it playing back. Can you hear that?
Yes, I just paused that. I,
Oh,
I was trying to do something. Are you
okay.
still there?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we're
Yeah,
good.
it's not live. Okay. Yeah, so I got that cookbook and a few others, and that kind of I just kind of started experimenting with recipes and realizing that it wasn't that difficult, and it wasn't this kind of this scary thing or too much or really too much effort or more of a challenge. And so we just went to a plant-based diet, and still I would say we're probably like 95%. So I don't think that it's beneficial to really be strict on any diet, at least for my personal opinion, for my family and my kids. I
Yeah.
had an eating disorder in college, and I've been through all that, and I know that it can be a slippery slope of, eliminating foods. And I would say I've been fully recovered for over 10 years now. But I don't want to say like, oh, I'll never, we don't, if we're out to eat, we have to eat it, or if we're at a friend's house and they are serving hamburgers, I'll eat the hamburger.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good
So
philosophy.
I don't, and I think especially raising kids, I want to, you know, I don't want them to feel like they're restricted. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
if they're serving mac and cheese or pizza, they eat that. But the biggest thing with the plant-based diet, I think, has just been that it really has kind of forced us or kind of taught us to eat. We just eat so much more vegetables and
Yeah.
just
Great.
um, and I definitely think with the training aspect and running a lot, it does get more challenging. And I think when I was running, maybe up to like 30 miles a week, I didn't notice the effects. But now, after my long runs, especially, it's, I really crave eggs. And so I
Oh,
always
okay.
want a fried egg on top of everything or scrambled eggs. And so I
Yeah.
kind of just figured, if my body's really craving that and that's what I need, I'll eat an egg. And I don't think it's going to kill me. I think my friend who's strict vegan might disagree with me, um, but that's kind of, um, but I do think with plant-based diet, you can be a really successful athlete and I'm sure there are many competitive athletes who are strict vegans. For us, we try to do like the 95%, and we figure that forces us to eat a lot more vegetables, a lot of black beans, veggie burgers, and kale, get our protein in through other sources, which it's definitely possible to get enough protein, I believe, without eating meat or dairy.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's kind of just been a fun challenge almost for our family to cook more and buy more veggies and local produce at farmers markets and come up with creative meals.
Yeah, no, that's so great. Do you, besides the two resources you had mentioned were Forks Over Knives, is that a documentary? Is that what you
That's a
said?
documentary. Yeah.
Okay, and then the book was Peas and Thank You.
Peas and Thank You is really good. And
Any like websites you recommend that we should check out if we're interested in learning more, good
yeah,
recipes or
actually, Oh She Glows is great. It's called, yeah, Oh She Glows. There's a cookbook that feel like almost every meal I cook now is inspired from by her or by her cookbook, and she has a great blog and list of recipes, and all plant-based that are
okay. Have you heard of No Meat Athlete?
I have.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I've checked out her too.
Okay, yeah, it's a pretty good website. I've
The blog
I've
or
gotten some recipes. Yeah, there's some good insights in there.
yeah,
Okay, no, I think that's great that you're doing that. I mean, that definitely adds another challenge, and more time. I think, cooking just people don't realize, I mean, people that
yeah,
cook every meal from scratch do realize this, but it's a whole nother job to shop and prepare these home cooked meals that are healthy and but I think it's worth it if you're willing and able to put the time into it and the effort into it. So
yeah.
that's great that you do that for your family. Okay, so I just have a couple more questions for you. So let's see. I'm just looking at my notes here really quickly. So actually, I know that you had mentioned your husband had quit his job for you, and you guys had started your own company and taken that leap um, into the entrepreneurial world. So I'd love to learn, maybe you can just tell me a little bit about the company and, kind of your new life as stay-at-home, work full-time from home parents and entrepreneurs and what that's been like, and any tips for other parents that are looking to take that leap or are doing it and maybe struggling.
Okay. Yeah, so in January, he quit his job that he was at for over 15 years, working at a research lab. And I was already a stay-at-home mom. But he left his job to start a custom insole company called Light Insoles, and basically he had been working in materials research for 15 to 20 years in developing new materials, and he was on a team of scientists a few years ago who created the world's lightest material, which was really exciting. And over the last probably 3 to 4 years specifically, he had been working a lot more with footwear in the footwear industry and shoe companies, and he had a lot of connections and experience. So through that work, he somehow, his inventor mind developed a new way to make custom orthotics, basically, and using a whole new technology with UV lights and he has a bunch of patents on it. So he developed a new way and told me that he was going to quit his job to start it. And I think we, of course, we talked about it a lot, having three young kids and whether we could really take that risk and, take the leap of starting our own business. But ultimately, we decided that we were ready and the timing was right. And he really just needed to be doing something new and to move on. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Choppy, but
I'm just, yep.
okay. So yeah, so he started Light Insoles, and really he's been working kind of in our garage and developing it and getting ready to kind of start the business just since January, so for the past 3 months. And then just 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago, we launched a Kickstarter campaign to try to get it up and running and really to see how it takes off and the interest that is out there. So it's been, I mean, it's definitely been stressful, and but also exhilarating, and I think just really, even our neighbors and friends comment on how he seems so much happier, and that they can tell that this is what he was meant to do, is to start his own business. And I feel like no matter what happens, we'll have learned a lot through the process, and it's just really exciting to be starting your own business, but especially in an area that we're so passionate about. So he's making custom cycling and running insoles to start with. And it's fun because I get to be his, running product tester.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so at least I feel like my running is even that much more meaningful because I'm out there and I can test his new products and see how they feel and give him good feedback. And some of the early ones I didn't like. And so I told him, it was too thick or it was bugging me in my shoe and there's no way I was going to wear it. And, I could be really picky about
Yeah.
honest with him and tell him I'm not wearing this. And now I love him.
That's great.
And yeah, I think it was the time to do it. And we've just always we know that we have to live passionately and really follow our dreams and see where it takes us. So we're still in the process of really seeing where it will take us and what will come next.
Yeah, that's very exciting. So I'll
Mhm.
definitely keep following the progress for that and get that kind of posted up there with the notes from our talk. All right, so one last question for you.
Mhm.
Um, since you do a majority of your training with your kids, I'm sure you have like some great stories slash horror stories of maybe something like the hardest run you did with the kids, or maybe the kids had a breakdown, or you got caught in a storm. Like, any cool, fun, stories like that. I'd love to hear, one or two that you might have.
Okay. Let me think. One was one of my favorite stroller running memories. A good one is just that we were in San Francisco last summer, and we brought our triple stroller, and my husband was going to push it, so I was all excited, and we mapped out a route to go visit his cousin who had a baby, and she told us which way to go, and we thought, oh, it'll take us, it's not far, just a few miles. It'll take us a couple of, 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Uh, but then somehow there was construction and we took a different route. And before we knew it, we had ended up running over 12 miles that day just to go.
Oh, wow.
But the kids were just such troopers and having them being in a new city. It was really fun. And so it definitely has any trip we go on to bring our stroller and run around and explore. And it's something I like to do with kids.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great. Hey, your audio is a little bit off and on. I don't know.
yeah,
I still can't see you, so if I'm looking around, that's why I'm just trying to look at the green light.
okay. Does it seem better?
I think so, yeah. It kind
It's
of just was
echoing a
going in and
bit.
out a little bit, but I got that.
Okay.
Got the story.
Um, and then another one is doing a speed workout with my kids just a few months ago. It's echoing on my side.
I know. It's so weird.
Okay,
I
it's
don't
kind of,
know.
I don't know, but maybe it'll
That's
stop.
okay. Just keep going. We'll work with it.
Okay. So I went out to do some speed workout with them. I knew I had to get it in. My husband was working. I guess it may have been before he left his job. And I was, halfway through the intervals and it started pouring. And it never rains in LA. So it was
Oh.
very unexpected. But my son had fallen asleep. And like I said, he wakes back up and starts running.
Oh yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I'm halfway through the workout. I just want to get it in. And I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to wake up and be screaming. And we're stuck in the room for we have to do it. So we did the whole workout. And I think it was a hard one. It ended up being about an hour long. But I just took my shirt off and covered it with the over the top of his feet or top of his canopy, his shade
Yeah.
sail, purple stroller, and just kept running through it. And I thought everyone who passed us, I didn't know if they thought I was insane, or thought it was child abuse, or what. But it was pouring down. But my daughter's as happy as can be and thought it was fun because we don't get rain. And he slept through the entire rainstorm. And I got my whole workout in,
Oh
and he
no way.
came home, and I think he woke up right as we were getting home. It was just one of those really fun times with the kids where you feel like everything is in sync and meant to be.
Yeah. No, that's great. Those are great stories. And I love how, I mean, I feel like that always happens. And that's why I said, like, I was asking for like a hard or horror story because I feel like those horror stories always make the best memories. And you look back on them,
Hmm.
um, and they always seem a lot better in your mind. You look back on them and um, I don't know, they end up turning into good memories, even
Yeah.
though in the moment, you may have been frustrated or
Yeah.
it may have been difficult in that time. So no, those are great. I love it.
Thanks.
It's fun running in the rain. I think the kids like that too.
Yeah. I mean, it must be harder for you to have real weather and snow and
Yeah.
all of that
You
to
know,
be.
I love running the snow with the boys, and I mean, like that's a lot of my pictures and some of my posts. It's just like I
Mhm.
bundle them up, and it definitely makes it more challenging. I mean, with the stroller, like I put these knobby tires on to
Mhm.
hit the trails with them, and in the snow, I mean, it's basically like running in sand with the stroller.
Yeah.
So it adds another level of difficulty, and I just figure it gives me a better workout.
Yeah.
And I tend to overheat. I don't do on heat, so it's
Yeah.
perfect. Get out there and I stay cool. I stay cool. So, but I mean, yeah, there are a lot of days where we just can't get out and run, and it's windy, and the snow's blowing, and so we have to get really creative indoors.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am looking. I'm trying to figure this out. I kind of think it stopped recording, which is fine. I was trying to take notes while you're talking, but let me see.
It still says live on mine, but
Oh, nope, it did record. Okay, well, I don't know how to turn this off. Let me see if I can do this. It's funny because it's still recording. Okay, are you still there?
yeah, I am.
Okay, I'm gonna X out of this and see what happens really quick.
Okay.
It's so weird. I've X out of everything and it's still going.
It says live.
Um, okay, actually, let's see. Let me log off. Let's just log off and then if you can send me a message with your phone number,
Hmm.
I'd love to just talk to you like another 5 or 10 minutes about the contributor stuff. That way it's
Sure.
not like on the recording. So I'm gonna X out of here because I can't figure out why I can't get out of log off of this. But I'm gonna X out right now and just shoot me a message and I'll give you a call in like 2 minutes.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool. Thanks. Can you still hear me? Hmm, so weird.